Hello and welcome to 5 Year Club video number 165. Missed a day edition. Yeah, last night I went to see a horror movie around 7:15 p.m. called Hereditary. It was an excellent movie. But I got home later around 10 p.m. and I simply forgot to record any video at all. It was easier just to brush my teeth and go to bed. And this morning I thought about it and I was like, I didn't record a video yesterday, did I? And I was like, oh man, I missed it. That got me thinking about why did I miss it? And so that's what we're going to discuss a little bit today. Different things that I've learned from getting to video 165 now. I've had the feeling for the past, I guess, month or two that I've said the important things that I wanted to say about money in the beginning of the year. There's still the elephant in the room, the topic that I haven't done a great job on, that most people don't do a great job on, which is income. And it's a hard topic. I've discussed the reasons before, but I'm coming at it only from a very narrow perspective, that of an engineer. And to become an engineer, you have to go through, Calc 3, linear algebra, all kinds of crazy stuff, and that takes years. And the other thing about talking about income is that even though it's illegal in the US for an employer to discriminate against someone because they talk about compensation, I don't want to get into details much about compensation on YouTube because I don't want anything, I don't want it to impact my work at all. And I know there are other YouTubers who have videos talking about the same thing. Beat the Bush in particular has a video talking about it. And I'm trying to adjust this cat out of my lap because, she's getting a little bit disruptive. Let me show you my cat. Oh, cat. Yeah, see, there really was a cat. Now she wants to sniff me. Okay. Yeah, so on the income side, education takes time to get, and time could be 5 years, it could be 10 years. And that's if you're kind of one of these individual contributor skilled people. I think lawyers generally fit into that category, engineers fit into that category. The other way to make money is by selling, and selling has its own challenges. I've noticed some enterprise sales in the past few years, and some of these deals, especially the big ones, they take years to close. And so you have to go into that sales process with a lot of confidence. You have to be willing to work on that deal for a long time with no positive feedback. And I think that for most people, that's a real challenge. And the people that I see being successful with that are people who already have some great amount of success in their life, period. And I do think that there's a feedback loop where when you experience some success, especially after working on something for a long time, it causes you to be more willing to invest in long-term but high payback challenges. So, for example, let's say that there's a project that takes 9 years to complete, right? But it doesn't require a lot of work for 9 years. It just requires some occasional effort for 9 years. Requires maybe about, 3 months of work up front. But then at the end of that 9 years, you get, $300,000. Would you be willing to do that? That's averaging about $33,000 a year, which if we assume that $300,000 is tax-free, which it is, then that $33,000 a year would represent something more like $50,000 a year for that 9-year period, like on top of your gross income. So in other words, would you be willing to do this thing on the side for 9 years to retrospectively increase your income by $50,000 a year for those 9 years? And if the answer is yes, then you're that much wealthier after 10 years. And if the answer is That's a long time to work on something. Then retrospectively, you're not going to get that $50,000 a year. And the reason why I picked those particular numbers is because that is roughly the return on buying a one-bedroom condo in the Bay Area for the past 9 years. Maybe more, maybe less, depending upon which condo it is. But it's a project, and it takes time, and you have to fix things when they go wrong. And once you've experienced it and you see the gain, then you're thinking like, oh, what's my next deal going to be? But if you haven't experienced it yet, it's still scary. It still just seems mostly like risk because our brains focus on risk, and you're less likely to do it. I picked the example of condo, but there are many examples that, more related to education. And I guess I've seen these tech products get built over and over again, and sometimes it can take a year before you even have a beta that you can show somebody. And when I was younger, a year seemed like forever. And now that I've seen it happen a few times, I'm like, okay, like I could see myself going in for a year and doing something and then selling it. Like I can understand why, because I understand now why it takes a year, what's happening during that year, what you're building, how long that stuff is going to last, all that kind of thing. Beyond income, there are a number of issues that are important that I haven't talked about simply because I don't feel competent to talk about them. Like clothing is a great example. This hoodie is probably in like half my videos. I have clothing, and it's nice clothing. I mean, it's not like Armani suits, but I think this thing is Eddie Bauer. It's like pretty nice stuff. And my clothing is definitely comfortable. That's what I aim for with clothing. But it would totally be a stretch to say that I'm stylish or that I dress nice enough to be in sales. And when I say sales, I kind of mean that in a broad sense because regardless of whether you're directly selling something to a customer, people are always selling themselves. And this is an area where I fall behind. If you want to maximize your career, you need to put some thought into image. I got a haircut this weekend, but see, I didn't actually take a shower before I filmed this video, so I didn't pay attention to my image for this video. Maybe that's why I don't have subscribers. And part of paying attention to your image is clothing. And so if you're going to maximize your career in the clothing direction, which is something everybody should pay attention to at some point, then you're going to need to do that without breaking the bank because people can spend an infinite amount on clothing. There's always a new style. There's no limit to it. And yeah, that's just been an area where it's been easier for me to keep doing what I've been doing, which is to wear all the free t-shirts and hoodies and jeans and stuff that I've collected over the past 10 years. And so I haven't changed my clothing habits at all, which means I don't have much to say to someone who has to wear and buy fancier clothing in the long run. And I think there's kind of an elephant in the room, which is children, kids. At least it's an elephant for me, because in the Bay Area, well, number one, I should say that people get irrational when they're talking about their kids. Basically, because it's a kid, someone will say, "Think about the children," or "Think about the children," or whatever, whatever they say, and they can justify any level of spending because it's a kid. Like, my kid will not survive childhood unless we buy a Land Rover because no car is safe enough for my kid. And that's not true, but it's difficult to make progress when talking to someone about these issues when that's their mindset. In particular, I remember there was a discussion on car seats for kids. And when does a car seat wear out? And should you buy a used car seat for your kids? And in this discussion thread, people were talking about like, well, what if your kid got into an accident and the car seat failed? What would you think of your, decision to buy a used car seat? And it's like, well, what if you got into an accident and your car failed? Or what if you got into an accident and your kid failed, like their head spontaneously collapsed? I don't know. Point is, that the discussions are more about your emotional state, not about what are the actual engineering details of car seat construction. And so, those discussions go nowhere because you're talking about, like, the people are coming at it from very dramatically different points of view. And the final issue, which I think is the big numeric issue for the Bay Area, is that daycare in the Bay Area is tremendously expensive, something like $2,000 per kid per month. So if you have 2 kids, that's $4,000 a month. Well, if one of those parents is making $60,000 a year or less, they should probably stop working and stay home and take care of the kids, because it just doesn't make sense at that point to have the kids in daycare, given the amount of money that you get from it. And the other big thing is that, and this is something I haven't discussed, and also because I don't have kids, it's hard for me to discuss it with any authority, is that there are tremendous advantages beyond the daycare cost savings of one parent staying at home. And so for me, I think it's like a no-brainer if those are the numbers. But a lot of parents do want to work, period, even if they're only making $60,000 a year. And that's fine too. Like, everyone, lives their life and gets to prioritize what they want. And as a couple, you just have to figure out how to mesh that together. But I would suspect that you need to move out of the Bay Area to get the lower daycare cost if, one of the people wants to, or 2 of the people want to keep working at $60,000 a year. 2 of the people making $60,000 a year, you need to get the hell out of the Bay Area, period, if you have 2 kids. It's just not enough. But yeah, so there's that issue. And I could definitely cover kids better, but because I don't have them myself, I think that people could, and in some cases validly, say that you don't know what you're talking about, Lewis. And it's like, I do and I don't. I admit that. And so I haven't touched that issue, but I think it's an interesting one. I'm sure there are other YouTube channels that do that. And the final thing I want to talk about today that I think has impacted my motivation is not just that I've already covered a lot of the topics that I want to talk about, and certainly I can recover them and cover them in a more effective or entertaining way than I have. That's true. But beyond that, my subscriber count is 40 for 160 videos, so I get about 1 subscriber for every 4 videos. And that growth rate, even though I hope it to be exponential in the long run, it's not high enough for me to see how the channel becomes self-sustaining. And when I can't see that, it's demotivating. That doesn't mean that I'll stop doing videos. I won't, because for me it's I promised to do it, so I'm going to do it. But it does impact my motivation. And I know the ways that I could improve on that, but I don't have time to do them. And so I'm stuck in this position where I have to kind of practice acceptance, that I have to keep moving, that I have to keep putting effort into something that I know the reasons why it's not moving forward, and yet I'm not willing to change those things because there are more important things happening in my life. So, okay, it is what it is. I really enjoy learning these things. In other words, I really enjoy learning that when you do videos for one day every year, you're going to get, a little demotivated around 160 video mark because the subscriber count still hasn't picked up. These are the details that you don't know when you start a channel. These are the details you don't know when you start a challenge. You don't know what rate of progress to expect, and you don't know when your motivation's going to run out or why it's going to run out or what you're going to be paying attention to. Once you do some of these things, then you'll realize ahead of time, this is where I think I'm going to start to struggle. It's just like when I talked about spending during the year, when I talked about spending in June being a challenge. I know that because I've done it previous years. And so I really enjoy learning this about starting a channel because it, whatever I do next year, this is going to help me plan for next year in terms of, if I save some more inspiring videos for later in the year, just to keep myself spiced up about it, or what, who knows. But I think that's some of the most valuable knowledge you can get, self-knowledge about what is required to motivate you and what the timelines are going to be. And this got me thinking about how, making videos against a low subscriber count it feels very similar to making debt payments against a loan balance that doesn't seem to be going down very fast. And so it's like, even though I paid off all my consumer debt years ago, I now have this new challenge that's going at a glacial pace. In engineering, there's a concept called technical debt, which means that you have been lazy or busy, and so you've been putting off fixes, putting off system rebuilds and redesigns that are necessary for things to work properly, and so now you have lots of things going wrong. It's called technical debt. And so when we talk about paying down technical debt in engineering, this means that you're going to spend the next 2 weeks fixing small things. And I wonder is there a concept in my life called marketing debt, where I've spent so little time thinking about marketing for the past 10, 20 years, that now that my subscriber count is growing very slowly, it's an indication that I need to pay off my marketing debt and fix the small things. Have less greasy hair in the morning, put more reminders that I need to do the video, come up with more topics ahead of time so I'm not trying to think of a topic when I'm tired at 8 in the evening, that kind of thing. All right, well, keep going, guys. It's June, and we're about to hit the halfway mark of the year. I don't know what your annual savings goal was, but are you going to hit half of that? Why or why not? And just keep doing the stuff you need to do. It's going to pay off. Even if there are challenges beyond it, it's definitely going to pay off. It's definitely worth it. Have at it. All right, that's it for 5-Year Club video number 165. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a fabulous evening. Nope, it's not evening, it's a day, it's the morning. Have a fabulous Monday. I'm going to go take a shower and get to work.